Hello, Matthews Gatos here. In this video, we're going to look at how do we compare fractions. Now, we looked at in the last video how to compare fractions by writing them as decimals. That's still a possibility, but I want to show you another method using the common denominator. Once I have a common denominator, I can only focus on the numerators. I'm also going to show you a cool little trick called the butterfly trick. I'll show you that as well. Now, remember when we're comparing numbers, positive numbers are always bigger than negatives. Positives are bigger the further they are from zero, but negatives are bigger the closer they are to zero. So let's get started with an example. In this one here, I want to know which fraction is greater, -3/4 or -2/3. So let's first of all use the common denominator method. So to figure out a common denominator, I want to figure out two numbers that both have a multiple of 4 and 3. Now, you can always just take the denominators and multiply them together. It might not be the lowest common denominator, but it will always work as a common denominator. Now, in this case here, 12 is also the lowest common denominator. The way that I know that is if I start skip counting by fours, 4 and then 4 more, and then 4 more, and 4 more. And I do the same thing with 3, skip count by threes. So 3 more, 3 more, 3 more, etc. I can see the smallest one they have in common is 12. But if you want to skip all of that, you can just go to multiplying the denominators to get 12. So I'm going to compare both of these numbers by making them out of 12. So to go from 4 to 3, I had to multiply that by 3. But in math, we have to be fair. If I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top as well. So -3 multiplied by 3 is -9. Over here, to go from 3 to 12, I multiply both sides by both the bottom and the top by 4. Remember, you have to be fair. And the top, -2 times 4 is -8. So now that the denominators are the same, we just look at the numerators. Now, these are negative numbers. So the bigger the number is when it's negative, the closer it is to 0. So I know that on a number line, -8 is closer to 0. So that means that this fraction, which came from -2/3, is the greater fraction. Now that's one way of doing it. Let me show you the butterfly trick. So I've got -3/4 and I have -2/3. So what we can do is we can make, let me just bring this a little closer. We can make a little butterfly here. So not a very good drawer. I'll try my best. But here we're going to make a butterfly and we're going to multiply those two numbers together. So 3 times -3, that is -9. Then I'm going to multiply these guys. So 4 times -2, multiply those together, and that's -8. Does that kind of look like a butterfly? In my artistic mind, it does. So now you're going to look at what is bigger. Is -9 bigger or is -8 bigger? Well, -8 is closer to 0, so that one's bigger. Where did that one come from? It came from the -2/3. So you can use common denominator or you can use the butterfly method, whichever one you want. So I want you to choose whichever way you liked better and try this question. Tell me which fraction is smaller. Pause the video and come back to see the answer. Okay, so now that you guys have had to try that, I'm wondering, did you use the equivalent fractions, common denominator, or did you use the butterfly? Let's do both ways. So look at my bottom, 10 and 5. Now you could go 10 times 5 is 50. That's totally fine. Or we could use the common denominator. So let's start at 10 and we're going to go up by 10. So 10 more, dot, dot, dot. Let's try 5. So 5 more, 5 more, 5 more, etc. The smallest one that they have in common is 10. Now, the benefit to doing this is sometimes you're going to deal with a smaller number than just multiplying them together. So if the common denominator is 10, well, guess what? The first fraction's already out of 10. I don't have to do anything with it. There it is. So in the next one, to go from 5 to 10, I would multiply by 2. But remember, we have to be fair and do it to the top. So -3 times 2 is -6. Now, which one's smaller? It's a negative number. Smaller numbers are farther away from 0. and negative 7 is further away. So which is the smaller fraction? Negative 7 over 2. Now, what if you did the butterfly method? Let's just look at that one and see how that would look. So negative 7 over 10, negative 3 over 5. So we're going to go here, and 10 times negative 3 is negative 30. And then here, negative 7 times 5 is negative 35. So which one's a smaller number, negative 35 or negative 30? Negative 35 is, and that's on this side. So I know that this one here is smaller. So whichever method that you use, you see that negative 7 over 10 is the smaller one. So I hope this video helped, and I'll see you for the next one.